Boar's Head invites you to enlighten your senses. Introducing Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. Inspired by Japanese master chefs, our signature teriyaki glaze is crafted with garlic, ginger, and a hint of brown sugar, then paired with our tender, slow-roasted chicken breast for a flavor that's sweet, savory, remarkably bold. Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken, the bold flavor of Japan, now at the deli. Compromise elsewhere.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, folks. It's Chris Daly here, and it's always my privilege to engage with Jamaicans who are making a huge difference in our world. And tonight we have none other than Jeanette Kong. She's an independent filmmaker, and her documentary, The Chinese Shop, recently screened at the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival, the Real Sisters of the Diaspora Film Festival in Brooklyn, New York, and the Penn Museum in Philadelphia. She's more than 15 years as a producer and director of Canadian Public TV. Jeanette was born in Kingston, Jamaica. She lives in Toronto, Canada. Currently, she's working on a documentary about Black American family searching for their Jamaican and Chinese roots. As you know, it's February 10th, and it's Chinese New Year. It's the year of the snake, and we're going to get some insights into our Jamaican culture as we are one people out of many, one nation. To conduct the interview will be my partner, Janice. Janice, take it away.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Jeanette, thank you so much for spending some time with us. So tell us a little bit about your Jamaican roots.
Yes, I can tell you about my Jamaican roots. I just wanted to say Happy Chinese New Year to everyone, to you, Janice. So I was born in Jamaica. Grew up in a small shop right in downtown Kingston, and basically remembered the sights and sounds of the street that I lived on. There was a bar right next door with a jukebox, and it was always blaring reggae music, and I remember that. And then my family moved when I was 9 years old to Toronto. So I've spent the rest of my life in Toronto.
So what nurtured your curiosity and development of this gift of filmmaking?
Thanks very much for referring to it as a gift. What nurtured it, I think, was my parents, basically. They told me a lot of our family history, a lot of stories growing up, and I think that's what turned me into, a storyteller and being very interested in family history and just people in general. And I think that really nurtured my interest. And then I went to journalism school, and there I had a natural curiosity about things. When I was in school, always on my report cards in Jamaica, teachers would write, Jeanette is a very inquisitive girl. So I think
that's needed for it to be an artist, I think. Right?
Well, yes. Well, that's what they always said about me. And then, I went into public television in Canada, and so I really sort of gained my experience there. And so this all came out of my history.
Yeah, your history. Being a Jamaican Chinese, are you from the Hakka extraction,
yes,
or are you from a different? Oh, okay. And for those of you in Radio Land, most Jamaican Chinese are Hakka. They trace their origins to the Chinese laborers that came to Jamaica in the mid-19th and 20th century when we were still controlled by the British. But
yes.
Who are your role models for film production?
In terms of film production, I would say, I love watching a lot of documentaries. It's a genre that I really, really love. I can't point to anyone specifically, but I know that I did cut my teeth on working in Canadian public television. So the people who really nurtured my development were, the staff that I worked with, my executive producer, and just really learned and honed my craft through working in television.
So Canadian public television, would that be like the American one, PBS, where they have, say, Sesame Street and things of that nature? Is that what
exactly? That's exactly. Okay. I worked at a place called TV Ontario, and it was the provincial version of PBS in the States.
Okay.
And
yeah,
so we did
I was just curious because I'm here in Chicago, and that's what we have. We have CBS. Okay, yes. So what advice would you have for the entrepreneurs interested in the genre of filmmaking in general and documentary specifically?
Well, I think it's always great to for young people to do something about themselves. There's something that they know a lot about, something that they're really passionate about. I think you have to. I think when you do something from your own experience, it lends an authenticity to the project, and you have a certain amount of credibility if you're really into it, and I think that will drive. The passion will show through in the project, and I think it's really important for young people to develop storytelling skills. However,
and more importantly, to see themselves, because it's really nice to see yourself in media. So how vital do you feel it is to control the narrative of the history or your history? Because when people think of Jamaicans, they have a lot of images. So tell us, how vital is it? Well,
it's been really interesting, the response that I've gotten to my documentary, The Chinese Shop. I think it resonates with people, and I think it allows people, when you see your own image on the screen, or you hear your own experience, I think that's very validating for people. And what's been interesting are the discussions afterwards, after the film, that people want to share their stories of the Chinese Shop and, going there as a child and the sights and the smells, and it brings back a lot of nostalgia for people. And I think for younger people, they learn what it was like in Jamaica, that they might not have known before. Yeah.
And like Chris said, our motto is out of many one people. So Jamaican Chinese, they're a normal part of Jamaican culture on the island. When you tell people that you are a Jamaican in the diaspora, how do people react?
It depends on the context, right? So most Canadians are surprised, or most people who are not. Yeah, I think they're surprised. I think more and more, it's sort of, it depends on the context. And then obviously other Jamaicans will just accept you, right? Like as soon as they know, then it's all good. And, we're one people.
Family.
Yes, that's right. So it just depends on the context. But most people who don't have anything, who are not familiar with Jamaica are usually a bit surprised. And they'll say, oh, okay, kind of like that. Just surprised.
What I'm curious about is the other kind of Chinese people. Because from my understanding, there's a sizable amount of Chinese people from Hong Kong and places like that. How do they react?
They're surprised as well, because I think that they don't often come across Chinese people who are from the Caribbean. So
Really?
there is surprise, yeah. But it depends. Like I had just come back from China actually, and there where my family's from, and you had pointed out that most of the people in Jamaica are Hakka, the Chinese that were there, earlier, right? The first Chinese that got there. So in China, where my family is in the Guangdong area, they're not surprised because there is, Jamaica's a part of their history, right? A lot of these families had family members who went to Jamaica. So there wasn't surprise by them, but I think, China's a very big place. So other people who are not from Guangdong would be surprised to hear that there are, Chinese in Jamaica.
I see. There's a mix. Right now, we just had the Super Bowl, and there's a mixed response about the VW Super Bowl ads. I don't know if you saw it. Did you see it?
I did. My husband loves the Super Bowl, so I was watching the Super Bowl with him. But we're in Canada, so we don't get the same commercials. But that ad has been making its way around the internet, so I did have a chance to see it.
So tell us your view.
And you know what? I know that there's some people who thought that it was quite racist, but I thought it was, it's an ad, so I don't take it that seriously. And for me, what counts is how good the person's Jamaican accent is, right? Because a lot of times when Jamaican accents are very hard to do well. So I have to say he did an okay job, I've heard far worse than his, than the actors. But I take it lightly. I mean, I think it was fun. You know what I mean? And I think a lot, what I love, what I do love is that the parodies that are coming out. And I don't know if you've seen any of the parodies, but there's been some Jamaican, real Jamaicans who are doing a parody of that.
Yeah, actually there's this white Jamaican.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you saw that one.
There's one called The Miserable Jamaican. It's so funny. It's so much funnier than the real thing. So, Jamaican humor is really good. So I think people are just taking it in stride.
I think it depends on the person and the context. But suppose an Asian dude in the commercial was to speak with a Jamaican accent. Would it have been a different reaction for you? Like for example, like I say that in Canada, they're not just Jamaicans, they're just Jamaican Chinese, but there are other kind of Chinese people.
Yes.
Would it have been a different reaction, you think?
For me, personally,
yeah.
I don't think so. I'm not sure. I don't think so because I know that there are there are Jamaicans that are white Jamaicans as well in Jamaica. So the people come from England and Germany and Ireland and Scotland. So we have this. Yes. So I don't think it would make a difference to me.
So
if he was Asian.
Even if he was Asian, it wouldn't have made a difference. Okay.
No. I think it was just, they're just trying to make a point that, it's really to sell the car. So I guess I just look at it as, a bit of entertainment.
So tell us how you decided to pursue and go about developing the current documentary, The Chinese Shop.
Well, I really wanted to explore. I had done it for a conference actually that was in Toronto about they were doing a conference about the Chinese shop around the world, and I wanted to do this film just to explore the everyday experience of Jamaicans and their interaction with the Chinese shopkeeper. Because I don't think that was something that had been explored on screen. Obviously, you had Ray Chen on. you had Ray Chen on, the photographer, on your program, and he
we
did
him last Chinese New Year, actually.
Yes, and he has this wonderful book called The Shopkeepers. So there are there are some people who, have explored it in book form. So I had just wanted to do it on film because that's my genre. So I just found some people that had, intelligent people who had great things to contribute, like Olive Sr., the poet, Jamaican poet and writer, and people like Joyce Gladwell, who had a direct kind of direct influence, or not influence, that's not the right word.
How her family was impacted by the Chinese.
Exactly, thank you. So, her family was impacted by the Chinese shopkeeper, So I just wanted to really explore that and just to portray the everyday experience of hardworking Jamaicans and shopkeepers and their relationship
to the overall community. The documentary, The Chinese Shop, was recently screened in Trinidad and Tobago. What was that response? Because I know that in Trinidad they do have a Chinese. Like how you have Jamaican Chinese, they have Trinidadian Chinese.
Yes.
So I was just kind of curious how that went over. I mean, the resonance, the Chinese in the Caribbean. I guess that would be the appropriate word, the Caribbean Chinese.
Yes. It was very much, the response was, I think, quite favorable, and it did resonate for them, the similar experience, of...
Are they...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just curious, the Trinidadian Chinese, are they also from Hakka as well, or no?
There are people who are Hakka, but there's also quite a few Cantonese people who went to Trinidad as well. And but in Trinidad, the community is quite it's gone on for generations, so I'm sure they consider themselves Trinidadians, first.
Of course,
and
yeah. But I was
foremost.
just kind of curious how that resonated.
Yes, it resonated in the same way, and I had people come up to me afterwards who have experienced families in Guyana, and they said Guyana was very similar as well. So it seems around the Caribbean they experience. I mean, I don't want to sort of paint everyone the same way, but it was similar, the experience.
Okay. I was just curious how the Caribbean Chinese, their experience, Are your films for distribution? So we're going to see it in the PBS here, and how it was at the public broadcasting in Canada.
Yes.
In the U.S., are we going to get the privilege?
I hope so. I hope one day. I'm working on it. So it's always hard because as an independent producer, but I'm working on it, and I'm hopeful, that it will make it to air at some point.
Well, hopefully it makes it to air. Like right now, February, in addition to Chinese New Year, it's also Black History Month. But we now have Caribbean History Month, and that's in June, so that might be something you want to.
Yes, I will definitely check it out. Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah. You're currently developing a roots-like documentary for Black Americans seeking their Jamaican Chinese roots. Part the curtain for us and give us some insight into that work. Okay.
Well, it's this it's a fascinating story that there is this family, and their mother is half Chinese, half Jamaican, and their father is Jamaican, and they grew up. There are two brothers and a sister, and they grew up in Harlem, New York. And their mother, who had a huge influence on their life, did not grow up with her father. He apparently returned to China when she was in her teens, and she never saw him again after she was quite young. They think maybe around 3 years old. So he returned to China, and the family always wanted to find their maternal grandfather, this Chinese grandfather. So this documentary is about their journey to doing that, and I hope that, I think that a lot of Jamaicans in the diaspora, as well as in Jamaica proper, will be able to relate to this film, because so many Jamaicans are mixed, and you have a lot of Jamaicans who have the Chinese last name, right? And
right, and a lot of people. It's interesting you should say that, because a lot of, say, like in the Black American, or well, just the American community, when they see a black person and they say, how come you got a Chinese last name and you're black? And then you try to explain to them that, well, you're Jamaican, and then it's like funny. They start laughing because they don't know how to deal with that information.
Yes, but we do in Jamaica, right? Because there's so many mixtures, right? And
right.
Yeah, so I think, this film will really resonate with a lot of people, because so many of us dream
it's
about,
needed,
Pardon?
I said it's needed. You're tapping into a genre that's needed.
Yes. I think so many people, especially because we moved around a lot, right? People are moving from, different countries to Jamaica that came from somewhere else, right? So, the mixture, like, then, the people that were left behind, it's like, what happened to them, And sometimes it can be just one generation, they will lose touch, right?
Yeah.
Like
I think the West Indian community on a whole, though, we're able to stay connected a little bit more now that we have the age of the Internet. So this is really a good vehicle, because what would have been the odds of us having, I'm here in Chicago and you're in Canada, and our commonality is Jamaica. So if we didn't have the Internet, we probably would maybe have assimilated more, versus now we can acculturate.
Yes, that's a very good point. It is a very good point. Yeah. So it's go ahead. Sorry.
No, I want you to talk. It's your interview.
Okay. I was just going to say that, and so many of us dream about, I didn't grow up with my grandparents, and, I wish, and it was so far away to go back to China. I had grandparents in China, and Hong Kong. And so it was, back when we were growing up, it wasn't, economically feasible for us to go back and visit them. So I never met them, and I think that we all have this longing, to know our families, and so
a sense of identity. Yeah.
Yes.
What are some of the values you hope the readers will walk away from after reviewing this?
The Chinese Shop documentary you're talking?
Yeah.
Well,
or either one, any of your work, because you are tapping into a very unique subject matter. I don't know if anyone else is doing this subject matter. I
think it's interesting. I just want to. There's a couple of people that I know. People like Richard Fung. He's a Trinidadian filmmaker, a Trinidadian Canadian, and he looks at his newest film is about the rotis. The influence of the dal puri. The rotis in Caribbean culture, in Trinidadian culture, and I know
Jamaica,
somebody else.
Because the last time I was in Jamaica, they had roti in Jamaica was primarily the Indian people. But the last time I was in Jamaica, they had the roti fest, and it was
they had what? The roti.
The roti fest, yes, in Jamaica. So it was good to see that the Indians are highlighting and celebrating their Jamaicanness through the roti, like how the roti is very valuable. You see more roti influence among Trinidadians than you do Jamaicans. I think.
Yeah, for sure. For sure,
Right.
yes. Yeah, we're more the patty.
We're more of a patty.
We're more patty. We're a patty culture.
The Chinese have the roti, but we have the patty. We have the roti
Yeah.
and the patty, but I think we do more patty than roti.
Yes,
So how
I
can folks
agree.
get any of this fine work?
They can, if you go to Facebook, I do have a Facebook page called Ms. Chin Productions, and from there they can find out how to order it online. So right now it's only available online.
Okay. And are there any parting wisdom you have for our listeners?
Very, very simple, walk good and do good. That's what I would say.
And that is such a positive message to end on. We really appreciate you spending time with us. To learn more about Chris Daly, visit Let's Get Mobile and Social.com. To learn more about Jamaican Diaspora, visit JamaicanDiaspora.com. And to learn more about Jeanette's fine work, you visit Facebook under Miss Chin Production. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, and Happy Chinese New Year. Wang love. Bye now.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be hard. Like early 90s heavy metal hard.
I'm yelling and screaming and I'm loud. Roar!
Geico makes it easy. You can review and update your policy or report a claim on Geico.com or the Geico mobile app. Because shouldn't we all have a little less stress in our lives?
I'm not even upset about anything.
Boar's Head invites you to enlighten your senses. Introducing Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. Inspired by Japanese master chefs, our signature teriyaki glaze is crafted with garlic, ginger, and a hint of brown sugar. Then paired with our tender, slow-roasted chicken breast for a flavor that's sweet, savory, remarkably bold. Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. The bold flavor of Japan. Now at the deli. Compromise elsewhere.